Welcome back to the podcast for founders by founders. This is the Uncommonality Podcast.
Today, we have Reade Kidd with EDRAY, and we are going to be kicking it off our mini-series at Seed the South Capital Summit. So welcome, Reade. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Of course.
Awesome. So just to kick us off here and to give our audience a little bit of insight into who you are and what you do, can you give us some background as to who exactly you are and what is EDRAY?
Sure. So Reade Kidd, co-founder and CEO of EDRAY. Moved to Charlotte 5 years ago now, from Atlanta was the last stop. Grew up in Ohio, moved a bunch of times, went to school down at Auburn University. Kind of came up in the supply chain space, so the idea of like international shipping and containers and all that as a graduate from the program there. And so got my feet wet with Maersk and then ran Home Depot's international supply chain before starting up EDRAY just about 6 years ago. So, yeah.
That's actually really cool. And you know what? A lot of people, I want to debunk a myth just right from the start. A lot of people always want to come up with the coolest, newest innovations and things, but some of the most reliable businesses are the ones that have been around forever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, you take like the broader story of like everything from Captain Phillips, right? Remember that movie? That was a Maersk ship that got attacked by the pirates, right?
Yeah.
And then you have issues with, you see the Baltimore Bridge having issues. Like it's now in your face and you're seeing it every day. And so I think what's really interesting about like supply chain, especially the international supply chain is, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but the world's getting smaller and people know things they didn't know before about where things came from and how things are shipping and, oh, we now have a tariff on China or we have this on India or this on Vietnam. And like, that actually matters to a consumer today versus, 20 years ago, you'd be like, hey, did you know those sneakers came from Cambodia? Or like, where's Cambodia and why do I care, right? And so now like the world's kind of shrinking, it's becoming a lot more connected. And it's a fun time to be in this space.
That's actually a really great point. What has changed from the start of your career in that sense, and has it changed your approach in what you do with EDRAY?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, the idea of data is becoming everywhere. AI, ML, all these kind of things are really converging in the space. But it's interesting because it's still very much like a separate and disparate industry. So you've got one group over here and one group over here and one group over here, kind of all trying to do the same thing for one entity, one shipper, one company. And that seemingly hasn't changed over the last 15 years. What each group has done has been better and more efficient, and they've kind of focused unto themselves, like an ocean carrier being better, a trucking community being better, a software that supports customs brokers being improved. But the idea of bringing all of those different stakeholders together and do what we do at EDRAY, I think is a pretty new concept in a pretty old space, honestly. So
Yeah, so it seems like a big innovation in a smaller space. So like, how do you guys what is the value that you're really bringing to these types of companies? And if somebody wanted to get to work with you guys or see what you guys are about, how would you go about something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, there's like kind of a couple big problems. Number one is there is no tech. I mean, when there's tech, but it's pretty disjointed. So we've got a great team that builds our tech, and so we're bringing tech to the customer, bringing tech to the industry, and that tech's really about managing and controlling all those individual stakeholders in the best interest of the customer, and that helps reduce touches, errors, cost, et cetera. And then the second part for us is then the managed transportation side, which is where our teams then support our customers in managing those shipments and those containers and the ports of entry and the rail and the truckers, et cetera, really is an extension of our customer. And so a lot of companies are being asked to do more with less. A lot of companies are continuing to kind of face the complexities of this industry, and whether it's people looking for the next job and moving on, whether it's they don't have the headcount internally, we're able to come and fill that space from a tech and a team approach. And then the third part is the innovation side. So from a first floor foundation of what we do, we can then start building the second and third and fourth floor of the house that we've built, which then creates this opportunity to say, all right, we've done this now, how can we make it better? What else can we do on top of it? All sort of within the same space, but but solving different problems that all end up being cost savings to the customer, increase in efficiency of moving the freight. Like, I mean, go back to your watch. Like, they place the order for your watch overseas, wherever it comes from. It might take 60 days to make it, and then 50 days to transport it, and then get it to warehouse, and then get it to you. So you think like you buy the watch and it just shows up. There's like half a year sometimes from when they decide, whoever the company is, to buy the watch to when they even have it to a place where you can purchase it. And that's hard. And so that lead time is what they call that. Wants to condense, the reliability wants to improve, and the cost wants to come down, and we're helping with all three of those things.
I want to ask something. So
Go.
it's interesting that we met you during this time. I recently have jumped onto my father's company. He's big into thermal sensing and temperature sensing manufacturing.
Sure.
That industry is very, I would say, archaic or very basic.
Sure.
And I would come from a place of tech almost with my own stuff and walk into this and have to move these systems and CRMs. And it seems like everybody in the industry might be stuck in certain ways and just set in the way that they structure their kind of business.
Yeah.
Is this almost kind of like the same thing, and you're kind of adding that innovation and tech implementation as we kind of grow with AI and things like that?
It's funny you mentioned sensors, because we're starting to work on a project around just that. What I would say is that, so you asked, prior to us getting on, you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, potentially about kind of people starting up, et cetera. One thing I would say is that, like, when you start up a company, you have to make sure that you have the ingredients to do what you're going to do. A lot of people will start a company and say, okay, I've done this thing, and now I need this thing. You're like, to do this. Now you're dependent on somebody else. My dad owned a pizza shop for 12 years of my life growing up. I was in the back, folding boxes. So the PTSD when you see the guy on TV folding boxes fast, and like, A, I can beat you, and B, this is my life, right? But the reality is, it'd be like starting a pizza restaurant, and be like, okay, I got it, let's start the company, and then they're like, but the only thing I need to figure out is how to get dough and cheese. And imagine that like doesn't exist, but you're like, okay, I'm gonna make pizza, but the two main ingredients that you need, you don't have. Now you're dependent on somebody else that can go do that for you to be successful. And I think there's a lot of companies like really far ahead, like awesome, amazing, way out here trying to do something new, but they're forgetting that there's these inputs to what they need to be successful. And so they turn back around and go, where do I get this? And how do I go after that? Like these amazing companies that are starting with data and data analytics, and like, but I need the data. Like, how are you gonna get the data? So where we start is we start with a very core thesis, which is managing the container with our tech and our teams, which creates this foundation to say, hey, you want to bring in sensor, you want to bring in this, you want to bring in that, and then you can unlock the value of that thing vis-a-vis this thing. But this thing unto itself just kind of sits, and there's a lot of value, but it's more valuable when you connect it to a broader story in a lot of cases. So.
That's amazing. One thing I want to take a look back at, just because of the nature of EDRAY and the supply chain, looking back 5 years, right? We look at the COVID time. We can see everything that was happening internationally, domestically, I mean, you name it, everywhere. Sure. What was your approach or mindset during that time? Because I imagine it just absolutely shook you,
Yeah.
And it takes a certain level of resilience to get past that.
Resilience for sure.
It's interesting. Like there are certain events that create awareness of something, and then it doesn't go away. Like super stupid example, but every once in a while I see somebody's eyebrows and I can't stop seeing eyebrows. Like all I see is eyebrows. Like once you see one, you're like, you can't stop thinking about it. I know it's weird, but you just get fixated on this one thing. And so like, I know that's a kind of a stupid example, but the reality is that once you see a barcode, the first time you see a barcode, because you're going to the grocery store and you're scanning a barcode. I've been seeing barcodes since whenever, because they've been around forever. Like that's the backbone of a SKU and a UPC and a carton, and like that's supply chain. And now you're like, hey, I can't find the UPC on my box of whatever because you're scanning them at the grocery store, right? Like it's become really normal for you. And so I think over COVID times, what happened is we got a lot of press. Like, man, this supply chain and these ships parking off the coast, and every single news outlet had a picture of ships parked and supply chain disruptions and can't get products on the shelf. And the nice part is, I mean, we've known that's a problem the whole time. We've known that's a thing that's the backbone of a lot of things that we do. But it took us all this time for the kind of industry to catch up. So certainly shocking. We're in the office, because sort of critical workers went to the office. So we were in the office almost all days through the entire time. Business was crazy. We didn't know up from down, but it made us a lot stronger of a company. And then on the other side, now you see shippers and other parts of the community saying, hey, we got to make sure that if something happens, we're in a good spot. So enter us and enter what we do. And so when unions have issues on the East Coast, or the Baltimore Bridge had an issue, or the canal issues, or now the tariff issues, I mean, you can't just lift up and move from country A to country B without some serious thoughtfulness around that.
Right. What
ship's going to come out of there? How do I get to this port? It doesn't just like show up.
Sure.
And so when you start taking this one big location and breaking it into 10 different locations, now there's 10 times as much to manage. But still the same number of things to manage. It's just broken up into 10 pieces. Mm-hmm. And by the way, now you still have one person at the company that's supposed to be managing that. So we can come in and help with our tech, our teams, and our innovation. So
that's amazing. Right. A little bit of opportunity in the chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some silly sayings like, never waste a crisis and things like that. But I think that there's some truth around like people do get pretty comfortable and back to routine. And sometimes it takes a couple things to kind of shake you and wake you up a little bit as you go.
It's good insight for sure.
So,
so let's get into the pitch now.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us, how was the pitch event? How did it feel pitching?
Yeah.
What was your mentality going into this type of stuff?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is the first company I've ever started up. We're just about 100 people. The previous companies I worked for were 300,000 people. So I know our tax ID, I know our bank account number, some things that are probably different than, Home Depot and Maersk days. And so certainly you come into this thing with some ownership, like it's your baby, you've built it. You certainly had people that have made it what it is, but it's your thumbprint, it's the thing. And so it's kind of fun to get up there and talk about what you do. And I think that the biggest thing is, at least for me, is like, just be proud of what you're doing and talk about it. And, if you're not confident in your product, you probably shouldn't be up there anyways, right? So, but it was fun. I mean, good group of people, no questions, which was great. But because you never know what's going to happen with that. But yeah.
Part of our brand with the Uncommonality podcast is we like to ask every guest the same keynote question. So in your experience, what is one uncommon practice, belief, or system that you have adhered to over your life that you can credit a lot of your success to, or you think that someone watching this can get some value out
of? A couple things come to mind. Like one of my boss at Home Depot, her line was always deliver good news good news fast and bad news faster. I think that sometimes people try to hide back either from investors or team or whatever, like, hey, this thing happened, it's bad news, like let's put it over here. And like, I think you have to hit that straight on and just get it out of the way. So good news, great. Bad news, faster. Know that faster, resolve it faster, work it faster. So that'd be the first thing. And then I don't, this is pretty bad to say, but like from a startup perspective, it's always like 10 steps forward, 7 steps back, 10 steps forward, 5 steps back, like, and it just comes in waves. It's just the nature of it. It might be 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And it's always incremental moving forward, but like you move back and then you move forward and back and forward. And it's just some things that you don't know when they happen. And so I kind of joke like, don't lift your hands too high to celebrate because you're about to get punched in the stomach. So be like, yeah, and like just kind of ready for it, kind of deal like,
yeah,
what's coming? Like be super excited.
Yeah.
So that's probably something. And the last thing I would say that is, and you asked for one, I'm giving you 3. That's sort of the story of my life though, is like, and my wife has been really helpful in this, is like, we don't celebrate like good stuff a lot of times, like a new customer, a new thing, a new milestone. Like it's like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, because like if you're not driven, you don't do what we're doing. If you're not driven to go get the next thing, then you're probably not trying to start a company. And so your core sort of nature is like, what's next, what's next, what's next? And you got to stop and pause and say, hey, that was awesome. No, you're going to get punched, but that was awesome. We did a great job here. Let's keep going. And we probably don't do that well enough. So it's probably like, do as I say, not as I do. But I think there's a lot of merit in that for sure. So
I think we're all guilty of that.
Yeah, I think we're
all guilty.
Yeah,
we talk about that all the
time. It's
time.
a great one. Slow down, smell the roses sometimes. You always have to.
There you go.
Yeah, well, Reade, thank you so much for today. This has been, we really appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck with everything.
And we know you have to catch a flight, so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Go enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.